Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Susan. Today I want to share with you how to make this beautiful bubu dress that you're seeing here. It's actually a combine with bias and all of that. You can rock it when you're pregnant and when you're not pregnant. If this sounds like what you like to learn, stay on the line while we get started. So these are the fabric I want to use. I want to use a black fabric mixed with this bias. That's what I want to use. So I've gone ahead to fold this fabric into two, and I'm going to fold it again into four. So we are going to have four. We've been doing this in this channel, so you should already know how to fold it like this. So we are actually folding it into a triangular form. You're going to fold it in a way that is going to be enough for you. The full length of this dress is actually 40. So the Ankara is going to be 33, while the black fabric is going to be 7 inches. So that's it. That's going to make it 40. I'm just looking for a point where our shoulder measurement divided by 2 is going to be enough. Like, I'm just trying to check. Shoulder measurement divided by 2 is actually 8. So I'm trying to see where I can have 8 in a straight line. So just put your ruler from the upper, and when you get to where you have your 8, you can just draw a straight line across both points. Just draw a straight line from this end to the other end. That's where you're going to impute your shoulder measurement. So when I was done, this is me just trying to draw a straight line. Mind you, the line is not curved, it's actually straight. A straight line across that. So after that, I'm going to go ahead now to, this is our shoulder measurement already. So right now I'm going to take the neck width that I'm actually working with, which is 3 inches, and for the back and for the front is also going to be 3 inches. For the back neck depth, I'm going to be using 1 inch, and the front neck depth is going to be 7 inches. Like, it's going to be v-neck. So for the back neckline is actually 1 inch, and I'm just going to go ahead now to connect it this way. Round neck for the back. So that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the front. This is front and back together. So I'm going to go ahead and take the front neck depth, which is going to be 7 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that 7 inches from there. That's from the up to the down is actually 7 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead now to connect that V line first. This is how we are going to cut it first. Later we are still going to go ahead and make it the way it is on the video that you saw earlier. So that's it. So go ahead and slope your shoulder by 1 inch, because your shoulders are not equal. After sloping your shoulder, connect that 1 inch to the neck width that you already marked, and just connect it that way to have that shoulder slope. So after that, I'm going to take a round armhole measurement divided by 2. You can see I did not take it straight. I took it away from that point, like I entered inside. So I'm going to make sure that I have 8 inches. What I have at the shoulder is what I'm going to have at that point. So this is me just trying to indicate that I have exactly what I'm supposed to have. Note that our shoulders is actually 7.5. I used 8 inches because of stitching allowance. So that's it. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark and draw a straight line across, just that way, so I can impute an armhole curve over there. So at this point, at that point of 8 inches, I'm just going to draw a straight line. At this straight line is where I'm going to take a armhole curve. I'm going to curve an armhole, and I'm also going to take the bust measurement. This dress, I'm actually making it for a client, so it's actually not mine. So at that point, I'm just going to connect it this way. After I was done taking a bust measurement, so I'm just going to connect it like this. You can see how I connected it. So that is actually my armhole. So at that point, I'll go ahead and take a measurement divided by 4. Bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease, plus extra 2 inches, I beg your pardon, plus extra 2 inches, which is going to save as is and also as sewing allowance. So that is it. So at that point, I'm also going to, this is basically everything for the upper part. So I'm going to take a length, that's the 36. So from the shoulders, I'm just going to mark 33 across all lines, across all points. I'm going to mark 33 from the upper point. I'll be marking 33, 33 and a half actually. Mark 33 and a half because I'm going to have a joining. So I'll just mark 33 and a half across.
Yeah, 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 whoa, opération, huh? Mixtape 1, woo, woo, woo.
So when I was done marking, I'm just going to use my curve ruler this way to connect these points to give me that round. You know this is a flared gown, so just going to connect it this way so that they are going to be equal. And when I was done connecting, I'm just going to go ahead now to connect this other point like this from the armhole, that's from the allowance. I'm just going to draw a straight line down to the hem of this dress, just that way. And I'm going to go ahead now to add about half inch at the upper part. This half inch, I'm going to use it in joining the shoulders together. When I was done, I'm just going to connect it that way. So this is me just confirming my measurement, and I'll go ahead now to cut. If you've watched this video to this point, I'd like to please beg you to please subscribe to this channel. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please turn on the notification button and you will not regret you did so. Please go ahead and share this video. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate. I did not take any of this for granted. Thank you. After cutting the Ankara fabric, you're going to go ahead now to bring a pattern paper. You can actually use the fabric if you have enough, because I want to complete the remaining length. So actually I wanted to use pattern paper to make this, but I was thinking the joining is going to be so much, so I just had to leave it. So this is me just placing this pattern paper on another. I just place the fabric on the pattern paper, and it's a longer one, so it's going to be longer than the Ankara because I want to be able to mark the remaining inches over there. You can see how I place it. I placed the pattern paper exactly how I folded the main fabric. You can see it's also in a triangular form, so but the length is just going to be longer. So from the length that I have there, from where I have there, I'm just marking them across from the shoulder at the top. So I advise you, maybe before you cut it off, maybe you should complete your length before cutting out everything. But I actually didn't do that in my own, so I was able to use my judgment from the shoulders to cut it. So what I actually cut out here is actually 8 inches. Yes, okay, it's not up to 8 inches, but when I'm cutting it on the fabric, I'm going to cut 8 inches. So this is not actually up to 8 inches, this is about 7 inches. When I'm cutting on the fabric, I'm going to add my allowance. So this is it. When I was done, I'll just place it in my, also note that the fabric is also folded in a triangular form, so I place it this way, and I'm going to go ahead now to cut it. You can see, but I'll be, before I cut it out, I'm going to be marking to know exactly what I have here. So what I have here is not up to 8 inches, so I'm going to add that 8 inches, that's allowance. I'm going to add extra allowance. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So at the top, I'm just going to make sure that I mark the top so it doesn't shift. So this is me just trying to check if this fabric is going to be enough. You can see the fabric is not really enough, so but I'm just going to manage it. So that is it. So I went ahead and marked that particular 8 inches and also the top, because I don't want it to move from there. So when I was done, I'm just going to mark the 8 inches across all points. You can see I'll mark the 8 inches across all points. So this is it. When I was done with the marking, I'm just going to go ahead now to cut it off. This is one part
like this is one part. I'm going to place it on another fabric. There's another black fabric to cut the front pattern. This one is actually for the back, so I'm going to also place it again to cut for the front. So that is it. I'm just notching the midpoint so I don't get to mix it up. So that's it. So I went ahead to keep the my back pattern aside, and I'm just going to work on the front bodice. You can see I just want to, so at this neck depth, I'm just going to take 1 inches at that particular point. So by the time I use half inch to turn it, it's going to be 1.5. So 1 inch is going to be enough. So but if I open it, that's going to be 2 inches. You get, is unfold. So I'm just going to connect it to the show, to the upper part this way. Watch what I'm doing. You can see how I connected that 1 inch down there. So right now I'm just going to go ahead now to cut it off. So this is for our collar. That's our collar. That's where we are going to impute our collar.
So this is how it is, guys. When I was done, you can see how it is. So right now I'm going to go ahead now to join the shoulders. So I'm going to join the shoulders. I'm going to place the right side facing the right side. When I was done joining the shoulders, this is what we have. So I'm just going to look for the midpoint of the back. So I'm going to look for the midpoint of the back, and I'm going to notch. From there, I'm going to take my round neck measurement. Like, I want to know the full round neck of this dress. So I'm just going to get a tape, and I'm going to measure it this way. I'm going to measure round so I can cut the collar out. After that, I'm just going to go ahead now to cut the collar out. I'm going to use a black fabric also. I just cut it a straight. What I had was about 21, so I just cut excess like 22 or thereabouts. So I'm going to cut off the excesses when I'm done. So this long stripe I just cut, I'm going to add paper stay to it, so it's going to be firm. So this is it. So I just cut 3 inches out, so I'm going to fold it. By the time I fold it, it's going to be 1.5. So I'm going to use half inch to stitch, and it will remain 1 inch. So that is it. So after I was done, this is it. I'm just going to notch the midpoint of this my collar. There is nothing special about this collar, it just, but you need to pay attention at this point. It's actually the joining that is more skeptical, you get. So just pay attention. So I'm going to go ahead and use my pins to hold it down, starting from the midpoint of the collar and the midpoint of the neck. So I just place them like this. You can see how it is. This is the excess that we have. So after I have finished pinning everything, I'll head over to the machine, and I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew it round. So by the time I get to the down part of this neck, I'm going to go ahead and notch that particular point. I will notch them, and I'm going to flip it over. You can see how I'm chalking it down. I had to chalk it down so it will be easier for me to actually stitch. So you might want to do the same. So that point, I'm going to notch it. So that's it. To go ahead now to notch that particular point this way. You can see, just notch it, so it will be easier for you to stitch that place and to stitch it neatly also. So this is it. I will take it down to the machine right now, and I'll stitch it around. So this is me when I was done stitching it around. So I'm just going to go ahead now to flip it over to the other side. You can see. Guys, please, if you watch this video to this point, I'd like to please beg you to please subscribe, turn on the notification button, and please like this video. Thank you. And so this is it. When I was done, I've already ironed it also. I just flip it over to the front side, and this is it. This is me. I've tucking it in. Remember, I told you to notch. So right now I'm just going to flip it over this way, and I'm going to also stitch down. Look at that place that we notch. I'm going to stitch it straight like this. You can see. So I'll take it to the machine and I'm going to stitch it just that way. So after I was done stitching it, guys, this is what we have. Right now I'm just going to go ahead now to pass the bias. Like, I'm going to go ahead now to put the bias. So the bias is actually, they actually use it to cover the seams. So I'm going to place it this way. You know, this bias has a midpoint, so the midpoint of the bias is going to be on the midpoint of this particular seam. So that's how we are going to do. So before I put that bias, I want to go ahead now to join this. So I'm going to look for the midpoint of the down, that's the black, the midpoint of the upper part. I also look for the midpoint of this Ankara, that's the half length. Then I'm going to stitch it together. When I'm done stitching it, I'm going to flip it over to the other part. So guys, this is it. When I was done stitching them just this way, you can see I'm done joining it to the main fabric. So now we have our full length. So right now I'm going to go ahead now to show you guys how you're going to attach the bias. So that is it. So this is me just trying to make sure that the line, I'm going to iron it. You can go ahead and iron it, so it's going to be smooth. So this is how it is. So when I'm stitching it, the seam is going to be up. I'm going to be putting the seam up while I'm going to place the midpoint of that bias on the midpoint of this seam, and I'm going to stop stitch up and down. So that's it, guys. So this is the neck also. So this is what I've actually done for the neck. You've seen exactly how I explained that I'm going to put the bias down here first, then I'm going to cut it, then I'll apply the rest of the bias round, then I'll end it there and fold it. So I've also stitched the down part. I've also added the bias to the down part, and I've added it on both sides. So right now I'm going to join the seams. So I'm just going to join it with 1 inch from top. I'm going to join it with 1 inch, making sure that the seams are aligned. So when I was done, I'll just keep it aside while we work on the sleeve. So it's actually a bell sleeve. That's A-line sleeve. So what you're going to do right now, this is Ankara fabric. So I'm going to go ahead now to join the black fabric together with the Ankara before I actually cut it out. So I've already gone ahead to draft, and I've measured exactly how I want the fabric, the Ankara, to end. So I completed it with the black. You get me? So from the top of this fabric, like this, from the top of this fabric, the length of this is actually 24 inches, and I'm going to complete the rest with the black fabric. I'm just going to add half 1 inch for seam allowance, so you go ahead and do same. So I'm just going to make sure that I have that inches all across the lines. So I'm just going to make sure that I have it. Then when I'm done, I'm just going to draw a straight line from the top of this sleeve down to the hem line. So I'm just going to go ahead now to connect it this way. You can see. So after connecting it, I'm just going to go ahead now to make sure I have that my armhole. I'm just going to add, the sleeve already has allowance actually, but I'm just going to add extra ½ inch allowance at that armhole region. So what I actually use for this down part is 14 inches. I beg your pardon, 14 inches. So by the time I'm going to connect from here, I'm just going to draw a straight line. It's actually an A-line sleeve actually, guys. So I'm just going to connect it this way. You can see we already have that A-line shape already. So that is basically all. You can choose to come down, you can choose to bring down a little bit, maybe come down again by 5 inches and connect. So it all depends on what you want, so you can choose to do like that. So this is it when I was done. I'm just going to go ahead now to, it's actually four, I cut everything together. So this is for the two sleeves, these are for the two sleeves. So right now I'm going to place it this way, and I'm also going to attach my bias. Note, when you're making this dress, actually you can put more than half inch for seam allowance, you get me, so you have what to use and weave the dress when you're done. So I went ahead to notch the midpoint of the sleeve because I'm going to attach it to the main fabric. So I'll just attach it this way, the normal way, just stitch it with half inch. So just going to stitch it with half inch from this other part to the other part, and I will also stitch the. So this is it when I was done joining the sleeve to the dress. So right now I'm going to go ahead now to complete the sleeve. Like, I'm going to go ahead now to shape it with the half 1 inch that we added. So that's what I'm just going to do. I'll just shape it down, and I'm going to go ahead now to fold this place by half inch first, then I'm going to fold it again, then I'm going to iron it, then I'll wear it on the mannequin for you guys to see. This is how it came out. It came out very beautiful. So this is where we like to end. Thank you so much guys for always coming back. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate. Please go ahead to like this video and share it